Ever feel like you're stuck on autopilot? Like almost half your day just happens.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, turns out we're not alone. Duke University researchers, they found that almost half of what we do every day is driven by habits.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
those unconscious patterns kind of wired into our brains.
Mm.
And today we're diving deep into all that, the science and strategies of habits, using pasted text as our guide.
Cool.
Get ready to unlock the power of, well, tiny actions, build a life
Yeah.
of consistency and achievement, all that good stuff.
I like it. You know, it's funny. We think of habits as things we do,
Right.
but they actually end up shaping who we are.
Okay.
It's this amazing feedback loop.
I'm intrigued. So how does this habit loop actually work?
Yeah.
Pasted text uses Charles Duhigg's framework, is that right?
Exactly. Duhigg's model is, well, it's so simple,
Yeah.
elegant, I guess. It all starts with a cue,
Yeah.
something that triggers the brain to start doing something that
Yeah.
leads to the routine, like the actual habit.
And then finally, the reward, the positive reinforcement that tells your brain, hey, this is good, let's do it again.
Okay, so real world example here. Help me connect the dots.
Think about stress eating.
Ooh, yeah.
The cue might be feeling overwhelmed at work.
Right?
The routine is reaching for, like, that bag of chips.
Yep.
And the reward, temporary comfort, a distraction, right?
Sure.
Even if it's not good for you long term.
Wow. That's me some days.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that something so simple can have such a strong hold.
Right. It's your brain's reward system, though. Each time you repeat that loop, those pathways, the neural pathways associated with it, they get stronger. It's like carving a path through a forest.
Oh,
The more you walk it, the easier it is to follow.
makes sense.
The part of the brain that does this,
Yeah.
basal ganglia.
So we're like literally wiring habits into our brains.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fascinating and a little terrifying. But knowing this, can we actually use this, I guess, this neuroscience, to our advantage? Absolutely. Understanding the basal ganglia, it highlights the importance of repetition and reward when forming habits.
Okay.
We consciously choose like the cues, the routines, the rewards that we want, and we rewire our brains for success.
Okay, so that's empowering.
Mm-hmm.
How long does it actually take to form a new habit, though? I've heard that 21 days thing. Pasted text mentioned some research on this, I think.
Yeah, the 21-day thing is, well, oversimplified.
Okay.
Research from University College London suggests it's an average of 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic.
Oh, wow.
But here's the thing, it varies,
Yeah.
a lot, depending on the person, the habit.
66 days, huh? So we're talking like a real commitment.
Exactly. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's where Pasted Text is great. It lays out some really practical strategies to make this process easier.
All right, let's dive into those strategies. Ditch autopilot. Start crafting the habits that lead to success.
Love it. The first principle, probably the most important. Start small. Avoid feeling overwhelmed, Instead of changing your whole life, like overnight, just focus on one tiny habit.
That makes sense. So instead of hitting the gym for an hour every day, maybe start with a 10-minute walk.
Exactly. Make it so easy you can't say no. And then there's this great idea, habit stacking, popularized by James Clear, his book, Atomic Habits.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. You're attaching a new habit to an old one, right?
Yeah, you're using the power of automatic behavior. You already brush your teeth every morning, right?
Uh-huh.
What if you added a new habit, like 5 minutes of journaling right after?
Ah, so you're piggybacking on that existing neural pathway.
Exactly.
Great.
Pasted Text has some other key strategies that make habit building even more effective.
I'm all ears. Give me the wisdom.
Another important tip, make the new habit as easy as possible. Reduce any barriers.
Okay.
So if you want to work out in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthy, prep your snacks or have healthy options ready. The fewer decisions you make in the moment, the better.
Oh, I like this. I hate decision fatigue. It's like setting yourself up to succeed before you even start.
Absolutely. And another crucial element is tracking your progress. Doesn't matter if you use an app, a journal, a calendar, whatever, seeing those wins, no matter how small, can be really motivating.
I love tracking. It's like a little dopamine hit each time you check off a box.
Exactly. And speaking of dopamine, don't underestimate the power of rewarding yourself. Celebrate those small victories. Doesn't have to be big. Just a moment of reflection, a cup of tea, something that signals to your brain, hey, we're doing great, let's keep going.
I like it. Okay, so we've covered building the good habits. But what about the bad ones? We all have them. Pasted text talks about breaking them too, right?
It does. The first step, like building good habits, is awareness. Pasted text wants you to become like a detective. Pay attention to those unwanted actions, those habits. What triggers them? Is it boredom, stress, time of day, your environment, maybe?
So you're like shining a light on those unconscious patterns, bringing them into your awareness.
Exactly. And once you've figured out the cue, you can start to disrupt the routine. But here's the thing. Instead of trying to eliminate it completely, pasted text says to replace it with something better.
So instead of cold turkey, we're redirecting that energy towards a better action.
Yeah. It's about filling the void with something positive. If you're like always scrolling social media when you're bored, maybe read a few pages of a book instead. Or if you reach for the chips when you're stressed, try going for a walk.
This makes so much sense. It's not about deprivation. It's about finding healthier alternatives, but that satisfy that same, I guess, urge, that same need.
Exactly. And another powerful thing you can do is change your environment. Pasted text talks about how our surroundings really influence us. So if it's snacks that get you, make them invisible. Out of sight, out of mind. If you're always on your phone, create a dedicated workspace with no distractions. Sometimes a simple change like that can make a huge difference.
It's true. We underestimate how our environment shapes our choices. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting for me. Habits of highly successful people. What makes them different? Pasted text had some fascinating examples.
It did. One thing is morning routines. A lot of successful people start their day with stuff that makes them clear and focused. Things like meditation, journaling, exercise, planning. They're setting themselves up for success.
So they're not just waking up and reacting to their day, they're like proactively setting the tone.
Exactly. They're also really big on continuous learning. Remember that story about Warren Buffett? He spends like 80% of his day reading.
I do.
It's not just the amount, though. It's the type of reading. He focuses on understanding businesses, industries, human psychology, all things that inform how he invests.
So it's about learning things that help them reach their goals, basically.
Exactly. And another thing, they don't aim for perfection. They aim for consistency. They get that it's not about being flawless. It's about showing up, even when it's hard.
It's about the long game, right? Understanding that small efforts build up over time.
Yeah. They focus on building a sustainable system, not on quick wins. And speaking of the long game, let's zoom out and think about the impact of good habits, the big picture. This is where pasted text gets really deep.
Okay, I'm ready. Connect the dots for me.
Here it is. Habits are more than just actions. They shape your identity over time. Think about it. Every time you choose to work out instead of sleeping in, every time you eat a healthy meal instead of fast food, every time you choose learning over, mindless entertainment, you're reinforcing certain values.
It's like you're choosing who you want to be every time you make a choice.
It's a beautiful way to put it. And over time, those choices add up. They become your identity.
So it's not about changing overnight. It's those small things we do over and over that change who we are.
Exactly. And that's why habits are so powerful. It's not just about changing what we do. It's about changing ourselves.
Wow. That's seriously inspiring stuff. So big takeaway you want our listener to walk away with today.
Remember this. Your habits, they're the architects of your life. They shape your world, your experiences, who you are. So choose them carefully.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
We've talked about the how of habits, all the details,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm wondering about the why, I guess, the fuel that keeps those habits going.
Yeah, I like that. The why is what keeps you going.
Right. Connecting those daily actions to something bigger, a vision for the future, what we want to build. So maybe the real challenge isn't just figuring out how habits work, but like really asking, what are my values? What kind of life do I want?
Exactly. And that's something every listener needs to figure out for themselves.
So it's like we're giving them the tools, but they get to decide what to build.
That's a great analogy. And I think that's a good place to pause for now. Lots to think about. But don't worry, we're not done. We'll be back soon with more fascinating insights about habits. So picking back up on that why thing, it's easy to get caught up in like the mechanics of habits.
Right.
But if you don't have a strong purpose, those habits, they fizzle out.
It's like having a fancy car, but nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You might enjoy the ride for a bit, but then you start to wonder, what's the point?
Yeah, great analogy. And that's why I always tell people, spend some time thinking about your values, what you want, what matters to you, what kind of person do you want to be. Once you know that, it's so much easier to pick habits that fit that vision.
So you connect your daily actions to like a bigger purpose.
Exactly. When you feel that connection, you're not forcing yourself anymore. You're taking steps towards the life you want.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But let's be real.
Yeah,
Even when we want to do good, we mess up. We're human.
totally.
Pasted text focuses on the good side of habits.
Right.
But I'm curious about those times when we fall off track.
Yeah.
Any advice for dealing with those setbacks?
That's a great question. And yeah, pasted text doesn't really get into that.
Okay.
But I think resilience is just as important as discipline.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about getting back on track.
Exactly. First thing, be kind to yourself. Don't, beat yourself up over a slip up. It
Right.
happens. Think of it as a way to learn.
So instead of focusing on the mistake,
Hmm.
we should be asking, okay, what happened? What made me do that?
Yeah. What can you learn from it? Maybe you need to change something around you, try a different approach, or just accept that, hey, you're human. Give yourself a break.
Treat ourselves like we'd treat a friend, right?
Exactly. And consistency is more important than perfection. You don't have to be perfect. Just get back on track as soon as you can.
Takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
So pasted text focuses on building habits on your own. But I'm wondering about community, support. Does having other people help?
Absolutely. The book doesn't go into it much, but I think it's a game changer.
It's like having people cheering you on, right?
Yeah. Friends, family, maybe an accountability partner, even online groups. That feeling of doing it together, encouraging each other, makes a big difference.
So it's not just about willpower. It's about tapping into other people.
Exactly. And don't forget mentors, coaches, they can really help too.
Mhm.
Sometimes you need someone looking from the outside to give you that clarity, that guidance.
That's a good point. Sometimes we're too close to our own stuff. We can't see it clearly.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been so insightful. I'm feeling really motivated.
Me too. It's about building a system that works for you.
You mentioned this earlier, habit shaping identity. Can you say more about that? It's such a big idea.
Sure. It's about all your actions adding up.
Okay.
Every time you choose to work out instead of hitting snooze, every time you pick a healthy meal instead of fast food, every time you choose learning instead of just vegging out, you're saying something about your values.
It's like every choice is a vote for the person you want to be.
That's a great way to put it. Over time, those votes, they add up. They become who you are.
So it's not about overnight changes. It's those small things we do day after day that shape us.
Exactly.
Yep.
Habits are so powerful because they're not just about changing what you do, they change who you are.
That's amazing.
It is. And the best part, anyone can do it. You don't need anything special to build good habits. It's about making good choices every day and trusting the process.
So what's the one thing you want our listener to take away so far as we head into the last part of our conversation?
This, your habits, they build your life. They shape your world, your experiences, who you are. So choose them carefully. You have the power to change your life one habit at a time.
That's powerful. We've explored the how and the why of habits, but what about, real life? We'll be back soon to talk about how these ideas play out in different parts of our lives. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We've gone deep on the how and the why of habits, those little things that shape our lives. But pasted text, it focuses on the big picture. Let's get practical. How does all this play out in different parts of our lives?
Yeah, that's the bridge, right, from the idea to actually doing it.
Right.
Because, making a habit for working out is different from a habit for saving money, right?
Totally. So let's talk about fitness first. What makes those habits work besides the basic habit loop stuff?
One thing people forget is finding something you like.
Yeah.
Sounds obvious, but so many people, they force themselves to do things they hate. That leads to, burnout.
Oh, I've been there. I used to drag myself to the gym. It was awful. Then I found these dance classes, and it totally changed how I saw, working out. It was fun.
Exactly. Gotta find what works for you. It's the same with money habits.
Money habits, how do you experiment with those?
You could try, different budgeting things. There's the envelope system where you use actual cash,
Right.
or the 50-30-20 rule where you split your income,
Right.
or different savings apps. See what you like.
So it's about finding a system that fits you, not just copying what someone else did.
Exactly. And this is where pasted text talks about rewards, but it doesn't really say how to use them for money stuff.
Because, let's be real, saving money feels bad sometimes, especially with all the messages telling us to buy stuff.
Right. So you got to make the rewards match your money goals. Maybe it's a little something nice after you hit a savings target, or a weekend trip when you pay off some debt.
Little wins to keep you going, proving that good habits don't have to be all work and no fun.
Right. And there's another layer. Pasted text just kind of mentions mindset.
Knew we'd get to this. Big mindset believer, tell me more.
It's not enough to just do the habit like on autopilot.
Yeah.
What we believe about money, about success, about ourselves, that matters a lot.
So if you're telling yourself, I'm bad with money or I'm not disciplined, that can actually make it true.
Totally. Your thoughts create your reality. So having a good mindset, that's huge. Affirmations, visualization, hanging out with positive people, it's about challenging those negative thoughts.
So it's not just changing what we do, it's changing how we think.
Exactly. Aligning your inner world with your outer goals.
This is amazing. So much good stuff here. Where does our listener go from here? What's one small, doable thing they can start with?
Best place to start is being aware. Pasted text says to look for triggers for your bad habits. But go deeper. Pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings, your environment. Become like a detective of your own habits.
It's like we're scientists of our own lives.
Exactly. Then pick one habit to focus on. Make it easy to start. Remember, consistency, that's the key. Celebrate the little wins, be patient, and trust the process.
It's about taking that first step, no matter how small, and building on it.
Exactly. You'll start to see like a ripple effect. One small change leads to another, and suddenly your life is different in ways you never thought possible.
This has been amazing. I'm so inspired to take control, start making those small changes.
Great. Remember, you've got the power, one habit at a time.
You've got the power, one habit at a time. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.